so when you finish the washer, I think you bring back the dish. I think they should put on the right place. So we have 3 different categories: the bottle, the flask, and the beaker. You should put them on the right place. Don't just mix them. I think now they're mixed.
So the top is
I think the top is beaker.
beakers.
Yeah.
Okay, nice beaker.
Yeah, I think
Beakers and the graduate cylinders. Second
and the
is
second
bottles.
bottle and then flask.
Second bottle.
Yeah. And this standing jar, you can put them here. I think that's okay. But for this kind of plastic jar, I think I would like to put them around the steam station. So they should come here. Okay. They should come here. Maybe that's it. Yeah. What else? I think
Sectioning machine.
section machine over there.
So this is for sectioning paraffin blocks. So there's a few things to pay attention on this. One is that you should, someone is kind of in the middle of using this, so it's okay, but you should clean all of the wax around and in this tray, and the machine should be completely clean when you leave the machine. So when you start, the machine should be clean. There shouldn't be a block left in here. And so you might want to, before you start a little bit early, you would turn this on to heat up the water, to float your slides. You also want to turn on the dryer, which is already on.
But the temperature you shouldn't go over 2.5.
Yeah, and this is the same. You shouldn't go over 3. And if the temperature has changed or it's too hot, it's not good for floating the slide, and this section actually won't work. It will either dissolve if it's too hot, which then you won't be able to float it, or it will not flatten out perfectly if it's the water is too cold. So the temperature is very critical for that. The other thing.
Why there are so many bubbles?
So this also at this point needs to be refilled. So whoever is using it needs to put more water. The volume needs to be increased for the water. The other thing when you're sectioning, you need to pay attention to the slide that you're using. So this is the ionized slide. It has the double positive symbol. And you have to use this for sections that you're going to eventually mount and use. If you're just checking the slide, we have another specimen slide that we can use to check. Yeah, here's one. This is charged. This is actually also charged.
But that doesn't work very well.
Doesn't work very well. Okay, so yeah, this one is not as good. It's cheaper. So if you're just going to look and see if you were at the particular the section you're trying to get to, or if you're at the injury site, you can just check with this slide, and then you use these because these ones you can do IHC down as you process later downstream, and you can also do histology and other things. Otherwise, your tissue will fall off of the sections, and that will be very problematic if you section a whole injury and you use the specimen slides. We won't be able to do any analysis, so we will be wasting our time.
Why there is recycled slide here?
So the recycled slides are for, like I said earlier, like the specimen slides. So if you are just trimming through your block and you want to see, maybe you have arrived at the injury site, you use the recycled slide because it's much cheaper than the ionized, the charged slide, this double positive charge slide. And so that's what we use the recycled slides for. It's very important to not waste a lot of these double charged slides on just checking to see if you're in the injury site, because it's just trash. You're going to put it in the glassware anyway, glass waste. The other thing is that you shouldn't use a new, like we have the blades up here. These are old. Don't use these blades. We have some blades, I think, here. So we have a fresh blade. But if you're going to use a fresh blade, you need to remember that you can use the blade, you can move the blade around. So you can trim here, 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 here before you get a new one. You don't just sit in the middle and then the blade starts to get dull and you put a new blade in, because that's very wasteful and the blades are expensive. If you were going to leave the machine unattended, like this person has done, they didn't do the right thing. You need to put the blade cover on, because if people are working around here, they could cut their hand. You can't just leave the blade unattended in there. That's not good. Then the other thing, is somebody using this right now, like in the middle section?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, sorry.
I think another thing I want to mention is there's an angle here. I think it's always around like about 5. so you don't change this.
Yeah, don't change the angle. Just leave
Yeah.
the angle like where.
Is it way to change the angle?
Yes.
How to change it?
There's a way, but we're not gonna tell you.
We're not
Yeah.
gonna.
So you know, I don't know.
Yeah. And then these different settings move this in and out. And you can control all of the things.
Yeah.
One time, actually, it's important to pay attention to one thing. This, as you section, the instrument actually pushes the block toward the blade. Sometimes the blade, this part will end up all the way out. So you will be going and it won't cut anymore. So you need to retract the blade. The way that you do that is you put this on, you switch over to the trim section and you hit this arrow here, the double backwards arrow with the stop. And that will retract the pneumatic head all the way back into the instrument. And that way you can continue to section. You shouldn't continue to section once it's all the way out because it will get stuck all the way out, and you can't. Sometimes it's hard to get the instrument back in, and we have to call for repairs if you do that.
And make sure you watch this distance. Don't let this metal part come onto your blade. It will damage the machine severely.
Yeah. And then we use this microscope here to check the sections. And so that's what that microscope there is for, us to check to see.
Please, when you use slide, on the way of staining, it should be clean after using the microscope.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
If you're doing a pentachrome stain and you're just going to check the color, you need to wipe the stage because you can't leave, I don't know, aniline blue or alizarin red or whatever color dab on
You
there.
use dab all over it?
Yeah,
that's
that's not good.
Hi.
You need to clean the instrument after you use. And then once you float your slides here, you get your sections, you need to put them on these dry racks so that the next person can start to dry their sections in the slide dryer. Don't just leave your sections on here. So you need to put them on